Yes, it's me. And you guys are angry about it. Oh my God, I make y'all feel that. Well, this will not take long. Well, I just wanted to pop up here and show y'all how I'm doing. I'm doing great. I'm looking great. I'm feeling great, you know. I'm over here very booked and busy while you bitches over here are still looking raggedy and not doing shit. Wow. But anyway, I just want to let y'all know I'm not going anywhere. So talk your shit, you shitholes. You can't defeat a bad bitch. You just cannot do that. I rise above that. Ew. So I just want to say, hey, and that I'm here to stay, and you're gonna be mad every day. Success.
Hello there. Today I'm going to tell you a story. It's a story about perseverance, basic literacy, and being a fun-defined girl in a hatred-defined world. I know this is normally a book channel, this blah 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 blah, this video is gonna be different, I don't care. Everyone is welcome here, and I want to hear your story in the comments. If you have ever beat your insurance company's ass, like I now have, I would love to hear about it. Or I would love to hear about your insurance woes, your complaints. Let's all commiserate together in the comments, please and thank you. Also, because the insurance company in question is notorious for suing literally anybody with a pulse, including individuals like myself, we're going to be referring to them as Cutpurse medicine for the duration of this video, because that is what they are, isn't it? And if Cutpurse medicine gets their pants up in a twist about the fact that I made a video about real events that really transpired between themselves and me during what was probably the most terrifying and stressful period of my entire life, they perhaps should have listened to one of my 4,000 requests for them to literally just follow their own policies and the law and just give me the fucking coverage that I have been paying for every month for the past 2 years. Life hack: if you don't want your customers to make a YouTube video about you breaking the law and lying, don't break the law and lie. I was Cassandra in Troy, and you didn't fucking listen to me. You were like, oh, she's just a crazy little lady. What's the Affordable Care Act? Well, now the law is your Trojan horse, Cutpurse medicine, because you were too dense to just fucking listen to your customer and look at the plain black and white print in front of your faces. I can't reiterate this enough, because these people, you have no idea the stupidity in this story that you are about to listen to. If you go to a restaurant and you get food poisoning and you write a bad review about that restaurant because you don't want other people to have the same experience, then like you can't get fucking sued by that restaurant for defamation because you're talking about real events that happened. If you don't want people to talk about having a bad experience with your business, don't give people a bad experience with your business. It's so fucking easy, and you still fucking screwed it up. You cannot sue me and win for literally just telling the truth about my own experiences, especially when I have generously hidden the name of your company with a pseudonym. I am literally just talking about the hell on earth that you put me through in the months after my surgery when I was supposed to be recovering. Ladies, you're gonna want to pour yourself a couple of fingers of something hard for this one. I myself am not drinking something hard though. I just have coffee because it's actually 10 a.m. when I'm filming this. I'm going to split this video into 3 parts so you can easily find whatever you want to watch, basically. Parts 1 and 2 will be what I call the earnest recount of experience section, where I talk about my experience getting sterilized, and finding a surgeon, and the recovery process and all of that jazz. Part 3 Part 3 will be what I call Fran's Crusade for Justice. About my experience being a brain cell defined girl in a stupid defined world. That's going to have a different tone, because that is about when I was supposed to be recovering from my surgery and I had to literally pick up a sword and flail and hop on a horse and ride into battle against my frickin' insurance company, who for some reason decided that it would be really cute and funny to just not give me the coverage that they had explicitly documented that I had. You can just skip to that if you really just want like a funny watch and you want to just talk shit about insurance and hear about how shitty insurance companies are and how they will do whatever they can. I mean, literally whatever they can to try to make a quick buck off of your back. I would recommend watching the whole video if you're okay with a little bit of a tonal shift. If you're watching this right now and going, wait, what? Sterilized? So first, a quick aside. I really hate offering like disclaimers like this, but people are literally so ignorant that if I don't offer this kind of quick explanation at the beginning, the question marks floating over your head are going to kind of prevent you from hearing anything that I have to say. So, hello. I am 24 and childless, and I got sterilized via bilateral salpingectomy as a form of permanent birth control in May 2022. Sterilization for women, like most other female-controlled forms of birth control, is covered at 100% without deductible under the Affordable Care Act, which is that thing that Obama put into place. You've probably heard about getting your tubes tied. I got my tubes flied, I guess. I had them completely taken out. So with what I had done, I still get my period and I still have like my regular hormonal cycles every month. One day I will go through menopause, no earlier or later than I would have otherwise, at least not according to current medical literature on this. Yeah, I just literally cannot ever get pregnant. It's more likely that I'll be struck by lightning. Capiche? Capiche. What's crazy is that sterilization is actually the most common form of birth control in the world, and yeah, that includes condoms, the pill, and abstinence. Isn't that fucking insane? Like, you can actually look this up, it's true, and the reason that that's the case is because a lot of like women, after they have had the amount of children that they want to have and they're sure that they don't want any more, they will just say, you know, at the final birth, they'll just be like, okay, just go ahead and snip me up in there so I can't have any more, basically. Yeah, that was super shocking for me to find out because pretty much all of the friends and family that I've told about getting sterilized have kind of reacted with a what kind of thing because no one really like talks about this, I guess. I don't know, I guess like it just registers in a lot of people's heads as like a capital V, capital S, capital T, very serious topic that is like scary and bad to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it. So if you're curious about my experience getting this amazing procedure done as a young and childless person, you want to hear about my short and sweet journey to finding a doctor, Victor's side quest to try to obtain my opiate medication while I was passed out on his bed with my wallet, then that will be fun as well. And me going to battle against Cutpurse medicine, then stick around. If, on the other hand, you're interested in hearing about why specifically I got sterilized, then this video will not provide you with that, basically. I'm not going to talk about or explain that, mostly because there's like, I feel like there's nothing really to say. When I was first planning this video, I like had this other section that I was going to go into here about like my experience with other forms of birth control and like sex ed in America. Please appreciate this artistic rendition of me in a sex ed class in like 7th or 8th grade. And like my relationship with children and the idea of motherhood and blah 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 blah. Just read The Purity Myth by Jessica Valenti for, like, the sex ed, birth control stuff. And for the other stuff, like, no one really, like, cares about, like, my personal fifis. Like, this is not group therapy. This is legend. I am Homer to you. I'm not even gonna put a disclaimer here that's like, you know, pee-pee poo-poo, please don't leave me a stupid-ass comment. It's okay, sir. That's a very nice Christ-first comment. Now let's get you back to Cracker Barrel. As far as you're concerned, I got sterilized because I thought it would be a fun afternoon activity. So this might sound bad, but I kind of got sterilized like very shortly after discovering that it was an option for me. I was woman-splaining birth control to Victor using the Planned Parenthood website, and both of us were really surprised when we read the page for female sterilization. I just like kind of knew. Sometimes you just encounter something that is super in line with this just inner truth that you've been carrying all along, and you kind of just go like, oh, okay. I had this just like massive wave of just relief and mirth, and I just like, I knew. Immediately the world felt a little bit more kind and accommodating. And I know there are probably people who will tell me like, oh, like, you know, you should have thought it over longer. But listen, I am an extremely decisive person. And I kind of tend to just make up my mind and just go forward. I actually kind of tend to do worse if I just ruminate over decisions for like an extremely long period of time. I was originally planning on getting snipped sometime in summer 2023, but the draft for Roe v. Wade leaked, and I needed to expedite. So basically, I hurried to find a doctor because I was going to be moving at the end of July, and it was already May. So I reached out to my regular gynecologist, and she was like, yeah, that's fine, but there are several steps that you would need to go through to get this procedure. First, I need you to do a psychiatric evaluation. She gave me like a recommendation for a psychiatrist to go to and just get evaluated. The purpose of this was supposed to be to make sure that I was doing the procedure out of my own free will and that I was of sound mind. And the one that she recommended would have been $300 for me. She also did tell me that if I wanted to, I could reach out to my own former therapist, who was a lot cheaper, and just have her do the evaluation on me, which would have been a lot cheaper. After I got the psych evaluation complete, I would have to meet with the surgeon to decide if I was a candidate for the surgery, schedule the surgery, and then get the surgery. The long process made me super nervous. Again, I set up the psych appointment at the clinic that my gyne recommended, even though it was going to be $300, because frankly, I just wanted this shit fucking done. And I knew I could cancel it at any time, so I kind of just set that one up as like a backup. And the closest one that they had was 2 weeks out. So then next, I reached out to my old therapist, and I asked her about it, and she was really dragging her feet about it. She was like, I just need to contact my supervisor because I've never done that kind of evaluation before, and blah, 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 blah. Like, and she was really just like taking a long time to get back to me. And so this whole long process was really making me nervous because I really wanted to just get this done before the Supreme Court could do anything else stupid. And so that I would have, honestly, and this was the bigger thing, I wanted to make sure I had enough time to recover before I moved. Since I presumed that the process would be cumbersome no matter what doctor I selected, I basically decided to play multiple fields at once, and then whichever one would get me to the surgery first would be the one that I would take. The grind don't stop, especially when you're in a race against 12 sweaty virgins. Victor recommended to me that I give Planned Parenthood a call to see if they had doctor recommendations for other people I could reach out to, so that is what I did next. So Planned Parenthood clinics in the state that I was living in at the time don't offer sterilization in clinic, which is fine because my mom was like, "You're getting it done at a hospital." So once they gave me their list of people, because that's all that they do, I called the first doctor on the list and I made an appointment with her. She agreed to see me in like about a week. I presumed that this appointment would be some awkward 15-minute thing. So what brings you in here today? Damn, I kinda don't give a shit about biblical gender roles. I'm calling the police! This doctor was farther away in the city, so Victor and I had to drive up for the appointment on a Monday. We listened to Taylor Swift's Speak Now, and he wasn't appreciating it properly, even though it's the best album by her, in my nostalgically informed opinion. But it's worth noting that for the vast majority of these Snippy Snip related excursions, I was listening to the one and only Azalea Banks. 212, Heavy Metal and Reflective, The Big Big Beat, and Anna Wintour, in case you even care. So we arrive and Victor and I are ready to fight. I mean, I had a dissertation prepared on why I was a good candidate for this surgery, why I wanted it instead of an IUD, even though they are just as effective as each other, why I, an adult woman who pays her taxes and votes and has like her own place, why I was capable of thinking for myself and deciding for myself that I wanted it. I was the brains of the operation, but if martial law prevailed, I really needed Victor to just be present and be male so that my word would have more weight. So I am literally Martin Luther, ready to deliver my 99 theses to this surgeon, and she basically responds and is like, "I appreciate that you've really thought this through, but you're a big girl and can make your own decisions." You guys know when you're like emailing your professor for dear life, and you've spent 4 hours carefully composing your paragraphs of groveling, and you're like on your knees, tears streaming down your face, just begging for mercy, and your professor just emails you back like, "K sent from my iPhone." That was basically what that felt like. Her simply taking me at my word literally changed my life. If you're a guy and you're watching this, or even if you're a woman and you just haven't really like thought about this, you don't get it, but it's really jarring, like in a good way. When you're used to having to justify and over-explain and hyper-analyze literally every single decision that you make, like everything has to come with this massive disclaimer or else people will look at you sideways. And then you just go in and someone is just like, "I will sterilize you because you've asked to be sterilized." She asked me a bunch of questions about my medical history, and she was like, you know, I do these surgeries on Fridays. She offered me an appointment as soon as that Friday, but I told her I wanted to schedule it a couple of weeks out just to give myself a little bit more time to process and just get mentally prepared. See, I can be temperate and all of that jazz. And yeah, she just needed some blood work from me, and then I was good to go after that. Also, I looked at the consultation notes for my initial visit with the surgeon, and she remarked that I was a pleasant 24-year-old female. Did you guys hear that? I'm a pleasant female. Nothing super crazy happened in the weeks leading up to the surgery. I reviewed my insurance documents and confirmed that they stated that female sterilizations were covered at 100% without deductible, and that basically the insurance company would be paying for all of it. I also called them to confirm what I had read in my certificate of coverage, and they answered me and looked my account up and were like, yes, like, you are correct. Like, this will be completely covered by us and you won't be paying anything for it, including the anesthesia. As long as you are voluntarily getting sterilized and you're a woman of childbearing age, you will not pay anything out of pocket. Keep this in mind for later in the video. I wasn't allowed to have ibuprofen or aspirin in the 10 days leading up to the surgery, which could have sucked because I was on my period, but it actually wasn't all too bad. I also was socially isolating because of COVID for, I think it was for like 3 days before the surgery. I had to be just like quarantined in my apartment. I slept over at Victor's house the night before because we had to be literally up at 3 in the morning in order to make the drive to the hospital and get there on time. I had to get there like 2 hours early and the surgery was at like 7 or 8 in the morning. I'm not sure if it's because I was like really sleepy or because I was just so determined to get the frickin' surgery done before a meteor could strike the hospital or the power could go out or the Supreme Court itself would show up at the hospital and be like, you can't do that. But when they called me back into the surgery room, I was so determined to start getting ready. I didn't even hug or say goodbye to Victor, and then I got back to the room where they were supposed to be getting me ready for surgery, and I was like, fuck! My brain is a little bit fuzzy about everything that happened after that, honestly. There are a lot of just like total blank spots because the drugs that they give you when you get surgery, which I was also given, one of them is a forgetfulness drug, and they give it to you so you don't get traumatized by the whole thing, basically. I remember being talked through the IV that had this sleepy drug in it. And literally, when Victor asked me how I was feeling that morning, I remember telling him I was more scared of the IV than the actual surgery. I had to wear the ugliest outfit I'd ever seen, with this like weird hat and shit. The fabric was cheap as fuck and the pattern would have made even my grandmother cry. Nothing, however, was worse than the Iron Man cap the anesthesiologist was wearing. Everyone was super smiley and nice. The only guy who was even present in the room was the anesthesiologist. And of course, when they brought Victor in to say like a last goodbye before I was wheeled off for the actual surgery, something that I thought was super interesting about the whole process was how often I was asked who I was and what surgery I was there for. I asked them about it, and they do this as kind of a safeguard to make sure that you are present for the correct surgery, so just to make sure that they don't snip you up for something that you didn't ask for. And also to prevent things like human trafficking and like abuse. So they want to make sure that like I am not getting forced by Victor to get this surgery or forced by anyone else to get it, that I'm not being human trafficked under a fake name, all of that kind of stuff. My surgeon came in one last time and asked me if I had any questions about the procedure. I asked her, I think, a few more, like, paranoia questions about, like, can I really not get pregnant? Yeah, and then, I got to see Victor one last time, like I mentioned, before I was wheeled away. I remember I did this hand signal on the way into the operating room, and, yeah, and I don't remember much about the actual like operating room. I remember there were like, it was really bright and very cold and very uncomfortable. I was literally conscious for it for like 2 seconds before nothing, like I can't remember anything. I do remember there were a lot of boxes in it. Something that I do find kind of interesting is that even now as I'm recounting this to you, I do get weirdly kind of shaky and teary when I talk about that room in particular. I think it's really interesting because obviously I feel really good about the surgery, and I honestly look back on the surgery and the recovery time like very, very fondly. But that room in particular, it's like my body remembers something that I don't remember. Like, it's like I have some kind of like squirrel brain, like that's where the hawk picked me up and started ripping out my insides. Just like instinctive memory of fear. Even though I was completely unconscious, it's like my literal body remembers that something like bad happened in that room, which obviously an invasive procedure like that is you know, serious. So yeah, I am like mildly fascinated with that, honestly, because I've never experienced that kind of like body memory before. I specifically kind of feel it in my abdomen, like my actual abdomen seems to remember that that's the place where I got cut up. Also very weird is that getting this surgery kind of resolved like a ton of my medical fears and trauma. Like, I have vasovagal syndrome, which is basically like you faint if you get too panicked or stressed out, or sometimes if you see certain triggers. Like, I used to get that in response to seeing certain surgical procedures or like organs. And when I went to my follow-up appointment with my surgeon, the conspiracy theorist that I am, I demanded to see the pictures of the surgery so that I could see that my fallopian tubes had actually been taken out. But no, when I saw the pictures, I actually was just overwhelmed with like a real sense of like calm and happiness and fondness for like my uterus, which is really weird because I just, you know, I never really like think about female anatomy or like my own anatomy. Because it's like my whole life it's been this scary bad thing that could betray me at any moment, and that, you know, the thing that like men could potentially use to just destroy my whole life. But in like this instance, I actually was just like overcome with like this real sense of just like oh cool, like that's my uterus, she's doing great. You know, I had this kind of sense of like, you know, you're safe now, like I've made sure that we're both on, like she and I are both on the same page, and you know, my body is like closer to me than like it ever has been before. Yeah, and I honestly was just totally fine with seeing the surgical pictures. I just like, I wasn't freaked out by it anymore. Sorry I'm like getting super corny about it. I mean, I literally was filled with such like an overwhelming sense of fondness for my body after this surgery was done that for a while I was deliberating getting one of those like silly little like smiling uterus pillows that you can get from Jellycat. I honestly just feel really proud of my body, and I'm proud of myself for facing my fear of medical situations in order to liberate myself from like the oppressive government that I live under, basically. And I'd never really like stood up for myself in that strong a way before. I'd never like gone to battle for myself before. And that's part of why when I think about like how shaky I was and how miserable I physically felt after the surgery, like I actually think about it quite fondly because it's like a symbol of my own strength to myself. It is really empowering to face the thing that you fear the worst in the face of oppression, just so that you can claim the life that you want for yourself. Yeah, so all of that was probably my second thought when I woke up. My first thought was definitely, ow. Bro, I am not gonna lie, like, that shit hurt. Very badly. This surgery was my Vietnam. The surgery isn't super invasive. Basically, they do 3 tiny incisions on your abdomen, and then they do the surgery through them. So they don't like cut open your entire torso to do it. They rearrange your guts a little, and not in the fun way, in order to see your uterus. All the stuff for that is enough to make you very sore. Honestly, I feel like the catheter pain was definitely the worst out of all of them. I could pretty much handle all the rest of it. The nurses who took care of me when I woke up were not as nice as the people who were there before the surgery. They were basically just like, shut the fuck up, when I was just moaning and begging for them to let me lie still to come off the anesthesia a little bit longer. I would not stop moaning. Part of me was genuinely concerned that I might be about to die of shock, because I can't explain it, but my whole body just like was electrified with fear. Yeah, I was shaking involuntarily and uncontrollably. They gave me some kind of drug that definitely took me to another dimension. I think I met the god Hephaestus. I don't even remember how the hell I got back into my normal clothes. I just remember being wheeled out to Victor's car and somehow lying across the backseat. By some miracle, the miracle of love, I managed to not throw up in his car. Weeks later, when it was safe, he told me that he actually took a wrong turn on the way home when we were on our hour-long drive back to his apartment. When he told me that, I was like, yeah, it's good you didn't tell me that at the time. Somehow, I managed to get up 3 flights of stairs to the apartment, and then I collapsed onto his bed. Poor Victor had handmade me a 9-foot plush manta ray to celebrate the occasion. He made me this manta ray to celebrate and help me to feel better, and he gave it to me then, but I was so out. I think I said thank you. I must have, since I'm such a pleasant young woman, but I received it looking like this. I blacked out. None the wiser to the hero's journey that Victor was about to embark on. While I was sleeping, a great hero's journey was taking place. And I thought, for this journey, it would be best to let him tell you in his own words.
All right.
So,
hi.
So, okay, we have Victor here.
Hi.
to tell the tale about when I got out of surgery. That was not the end of the journey for.
You were wildin'.
That was not the end of the journey for you though.
No, it wasn't.
It was only the beginning. Because it was the end of the line for me.
Yeah.
So talk about like getting me. I mean, maybe you can talk a little bit about like picking me up and stuff.
So after going to the grocery store and picking up a very questionable turkey ham and cranberry wrap.
Oh, that's
very
right.
good, and some kombucha that exploded in my backpack.
Wait, really?
Yeah, the kombucha exploded in my backpack.
Oh yeah, I remember you told me about that now.
I'm surprised you remember.
I forgot about it. I think I repressed it because that just sounds. It's bad enough to drink. I can't imagine it in the backpack. Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway.
Did you clean that out while I was in surgery?
Yeah, pretty much.
Where did you do that? Just in the
trash can out, because it poured on my backpack, not in my backpack.
Great start.
Anyway, great start.
The hospital is called St. Bart's, if you want to name it, by the way.
So St. Bart,
it's the one that Sherlock killed himself off.
Okay, cool. I'm glad that we're being internally consistent. So St. Bart's has a Starbucks in the hospital, and I went down there for like 10 minutes, and by the time I got back, I got like 3 phone calls from the nurses and the staff just being like, "Hey, where are you? Your girl's done." And so
out of the microwave.
She's done. She's out of the microwave. And so I'm like, all right, I'll go pull the car around. And so I go and I get my car.
I'm actually glad that you ignored their first calls.
Oh, yeah?
Because I was begging them for more time to recover from the anesthesia, and they weren't listening to me.
Yeah, I gave you a little extra time there, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to go grab my car and pulled it around, and out they wheel Fran, and she is just fucking out. She looks like she is, well, I guess been in surgery. Babe, we threw you in the back of the car like luggage, like the people handling luggage at the airport. Did
they throw me, really?
No, they didn't. But they got you in the back of the car, and I'm thinking like, all right, am I gonna buckle her up? And I'm like, no, I'm gonna get fucking ticketed. If a cop pulls me over, I'm gonna have a lot of explaining. I have to explain why there's this drugged up woman in the back of my car who can barely speak or think, and it's 11:30 a.m. Doing my best to drive carefully and slowly, just cruising, and God bless Fran, because she didn't fucking vomit in the back of my car, and I give her a gold star for that.
Yeah.
That was the most willpower I've ever seen anybody exert ever. Get her up, get her to the bedroom.
And you didn't carry me up the stairs. They're gonna wonder about that.
I wish I did. I wouldn't have, because then she would have opened back up. But
well, yeah, my abdomen was in so much pain. I was like, you cannot touch me. Like, if I had been crunched in the way that it was necessary to like do that with me, to like hold me, carry me,
stigmata would have been bleeding.
Yeah, babe. Yeah, we call the incision points my stigmata, because I suffered like Christ on a cross. Yeah.
I helped Fran up into the bed, plop her down.
And you give me Lumpy.
I give you Lumpy. I give you the good man himself. So viewers, for reference, I put Fran on the bed at, whenever we get back. All the following tale all occurs, and Fran has not moved by the time that it's done. So just keep that in your mind, that Fran is on my bed, just out the whole time like a sack of potatoes. So I get out and I'm like, okay, I gotta go pick up Fran's OxyContin from the pharmacy. I get there, I get to the CVS, and they're like, oh, we don't have that here. We don't have OxyContin here. And I'm like, can I go to another CV? Can you transfer the prescription to another pharmacy? And they're like, no, but don't transfer it to a CVS, because they're not going to have it either. And I'm just like, okay, guess I got to do some investigative work. So I called another CVS, and they confirmed that they didn't have it. All right, whatever. My dumbass calls the Walgreens. And I'm just like, hey, do you have OxyContin? They're like...
Having a normal one?
A normal one, normal.
Do you guys have OxyContin? I really need it.
You guys got that Oxy? I really need it. And they're like, I'll have to check. What size do you need? And I'm like... And I'm in my car calling them, and I don't have the documentation that the nurses gave me. So I'm just like, I don't know. What do you have? They're like, there's a beat of silence, and I swear to God, I heard some spiritual being put their hand on their face in embarrassment, and they're just like, sir, it doesn't work like that. And so I'm like, all right, I guess I gotta go and get the documentation. So I get it. I see your prescription. I call them back, and they're like, yes, we have it. I'm like, okay. And I call specifically a different Walgreens because I was too embarrassed. I call them, and I'm like, okay, you got it. Cool. I'm gonna So then I have to call the nurses back at St. Bart's. Oh my God. So I called them. They were very nice, like, hey, the pharmacy. I called them, the pharmacy doesn't have the Oxy that Fran needs. So can you transfer it to this pharmacy, the Walgreens? They're like, yeah, sure. I'll talk to the nurse when I get, sure, whatever. So now I have a break where I can finish the second half of my rap and I call my dad just to tell him the whole ordeal as it was happening. Told him that, yeah, I'm going to be going to bed at like 5 p.m. tonight. Mm-hmm. And, he's telling you that he's proud of Fran for going through the surgery and everything. All good. Then I get a call back from the nurse at the hospital. And he's just like, oh, yeah, we transferred the prescription over. And I was like, that was way easier. But while I'm on the phone, talking to the nurse at the hospital, as soon as I pick up, I hear a knock at my door. And I'm like, what? What the fuck? I go to the fucking police. It's the police. They knew I wanted some Oxy.
Yeah.
I go to the door, and there's this big guy there, and he has a leaf blower. And I'm like, there are times in your life where you look at something and your brain just doesn't get it for like way longer than you need, and you're just like, I must have looked at this gentleman for probably like 5 full seconds in silence, and I'm like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we're here to blow out your dryer vents." And I remembered that my apartment complex had sent me a note like the previous week that they were coming through and cleaning out the lint from the dryer vents. And I'm like, all right. So I'm sitting on the phone talking to the nurse at the hospital. Meanwhile, there's a stranger in my laundry room moving my drying machine out of the way, and then I hear a fucking leaf blower turn on in the laundry room, and I'm close the door to my bedroom, and I check in on Fran, and she hasn't moved a fucking inch. And I'm like, okay, good. Whatever they did, it was strong. It was so strong.
Did part of you worry that I was dead?
No, I was worried that, like, holy shit, what they pump into her? Fuck. It's like a full minute that I kept this nurse on fucking hold. I'm like, sorry, there's shit going on. And he's like, oh yeah, you got the script transferred to the other pharmacy. And so I go, and I'm like, all right. I wait for the gentleman to finish blowing the vents out, and I go up. I think I got a glass of water or something. Just I fucking need something. And then I go out. I go to the Walgreens, and they had the extra strength Tylenol. I go up. Oh, that's right. So I go up, I'm like, and I was so smart. I have the biggest brain on this fucking earth because I grab your wallet. And so I go to the pharmacy and I'm like, hi, I'm here to pick up a script for Fran Abernathy. And it's just like, and they're like, oh yeah, sure, we got it. We got the extra strength Advil filled, so you can pick it up. Oh, it's worth mentioning that I already picked that up from the previous pharmacy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you were able to get everything but the Oxy.
Right, everything but the Oxy at the previous pharmacy.
Yeah, yeah.
And
and then the one was filled twice.
Yeah, the Advil was filled twice.
So I had so much Advil.
So much Advil. I go to the Walgreens and they're like, oh, what's like, Fran Abernathy, and you're like, what's the address? And I'm just like, my eyes just widening for a brief moment of fear. I'm just like, I don't have this information because it was your home address from when you lived.
From literally, it was like my parents' address.
It was your parents' house address.
I hate CVS and Walgreens because I beg them to take my parents' address and detach it from my name, and I'm having this problem with my phone number right now with Verizon. Yeah, where because I called them for some bullshit because that's what Verizon does, and
Do you want to tell the viewer?
No, but it was just, it's Verizon. Y'all already know what the fuck is going on. And so anyway, so yeah, I was fixing this shit with them, being like, yeah, you guys say I owe you 32 cents and I can't get into my account. So, I need you to look this up and get into my account for me. And, they were like, oh, well, we disconnected your regular phone number that's, attached to you, but the only record we have of this phone number now is it's attached to, another person's account with your last name. And I was like, so I'm back on my parents' account somehow? So I disconnected this phone number with you, but it's still in your database on my parents' account as an active phone number? I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Verizon is their technology is so horrible.
I think it's so stupid broken. You are trying so hard to pay them 32 cents.
I know, genuinely, if it was the company I used to work for, we'd just be like, just waive it, it's 32 cents.
But it's fucking
because
Verizon,
we have common sense, and we're like, yeah. It's the black and red and white color scheme too. The gamer colors.
The gamer colors.
Anyway, babe.
Anyway, back to the opiates.
Yeah.
So my eyes are as wide as dinner plates because I don't remember Fran's I don't have Fran's parents' house address as information in my head. So I'm like, regardless, you're regardless.
Yeah.
I remembered I had your wallet, and in your wallet was your driver's license. So I pull out your wallet and I undo the clasp and I pull out your driver's license and I look, and sure enough, your old address is on there, and I'm just like, it's whatever the address is.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, cool, that's the right one. I'm like, fuck yeah. They're like, all right, it's going to be about 20 to 30 minutes for us to fill the oxy. By now it's like 1:30 and I am tired. I am tired again. But I'm finally, the end is in sight. And so I go to the grocery store. I pick up some. I call my mom. I tell her all about the whole ordeal. I pick up some. I picked up pudding. I picked up Jello. I picked up some fun drinks. I picked up some Gatorade so you could rehydrate your body, and then I get the call, and then I go back to the pharmacy and they have it filled. They were nice. I picked it up. I got out of there and I got back to the apartment. I get inside, and just as I get inside, you stir, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna leave your medicines here. I'm gonna let you rest.
It felt like I was out for like 20 minutes. I was
a whole lifetime of events happened in those 2 hours that you were out.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he must have just been gone half an hour. Ran to the grocery store and the pharmacy.
No, I had a very ordeal.
Yeah.
That was the one concerning thing, is how I was able to get those fairly easily. Controlled substances, but that's not the point. The point of the story is that I had a grand adventure, and I slept for like 12 hours that day.
Yep.
And
me too.
You slept for like 30 hours, hon.
Yeah. All right, babe. Well, thanks for sharing.
You're welcome, Toots.
Yep. I recovered really quickly though, thanks to Lumpy. And I guess to Victor, maybe. So the day after surgery, I was actually recovered enough to recognize the feeling of itchiness all over my body, caused by the hives I broke out into because the doctors ignored my latex allergy. I had outlines of EKG monitors on my torso in swollen red. Apparently, it's pretty common for doctors to just say, fuck it, we ball when it comes to latex allergies, because so many people have them, and pretty much every doctor has them. As long as you won't die, they say, fuck it, we ball. So yeah, that sucked. Lifting things was a no-go for, I would say, like about a week after the surgery. I still did it for groceries, but that was not comfortable and it tired me out really, really badly. I ran a really slight temperature about 6 days after the surgery, but I just rested and it went away in about a day. Sneezing and laughing was very, very painful for, I would say, about a week after the surgery, but I was able to go on walks outside right away, which is good for me because I just hate being cooped up. So I went on about like a 2-mile walk outside with Victor the day after. My surgeon did express a little bit of disapproval at that, but for me, it really helped to be out in the sunshine. The glue on my cuts, or my incisions, took forever to come off, and the sutures also took forever to dissolve. At my follow-up appointment, my surgeon actually ripped the remainder of the glue off of my incisions without warning. I was really, really bloated after, and I feel like that was probably the symptom that took the longest to go away. So just be ready for your torso to be very, very bloated and swollen afterwards. I also had a little bit of bleeding for maybe a day or two afterwards. I also got some like really weird like wiggly feelings in my abdomen where my organs were shifting back into place. like low-key kind of like an ooh, I felt it kick feeling, except just with my organs. So that's fucking weird. Yeah, that was pretty much all like the symptoms were. Honestly, like it was not, it's not bad. Like I had a lot of time off of work for this. I had PTO that I was using up, and yeah, I mean it was all like pretty manageable, I think. All right, well, we're here. The great insurance caper, or Cutpurse medicine, learns the law. Hi, did you skip to this part of the video because you don't care about my personal health decisions, but you are down as fuck to hear me talk shit about an insurance company? Work. This will be the longest and most rip-roaring section of this video, so get settled. So I'm peacefully recovering from what will hopefully be the most major surgery that I get in my life. Going for walks, sleeping, cuddling with Lumpy and Victor, eating, buying sale summer dresses. When I sense a disturbance in the force. And when I say a disturbance, I mean an email notification. So I check my insurance claims, and I am disconcerted to find that I apparently owe $1,100. So confused, I give Cutpurse Medicine a call. I tell someone what my procedure was, what I had been told before about not having to pay a dime for it myself, and I am told by the representative, oh, I see what happened. It looks like the hospital submitted your claims incorrectly. Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense. After all, I say, taking a glance at my certificate of coverage, this procedure is clearly covered as preventative at 100% without deductible. Do you have a drink with you? An alcoholic beverage? Well, whatever you do, don't take a drink every single time I say that phrase, because you will fucking die. And then the hospital will charge your orphan children inheritance for like a liver transplant. I swear to fucking God, the hospital that I went to, let's call it St. Bart's, after the hospital that Sherlock killed himself off of. This hospital that I went to is literally like that episode of SpongeBob where Mr. Krabs tries to start like billing SpongeBob and Squidward for like standing and breathing. So these claims keep coming through, and I notice a disparity between what other hospitals typically charge for this procedure and what St. Bart's is trying to charge me. The usual cost is like $6 to $11K total, at least as far as I understand. St. Bart's is charging $35,000. Fucking liver transplant kind of cost. At this point, I am convinced that the hospital is made of crooks, and I contact them being like, hey, my insurance states that you submitted my claims incorrectly. Can you please review the codes that you used? Billing at this hospital is the most insane shit. There were people who I spoke to who genuinely did not know what the Affordable Care Act was. Pay and train your fucking workers, I swear to God. So I talked to billing, and they actually refused to let me talk to a supervisor who I would presume would know more and be able to actually like give me some fucking answers and some proper escalation for the situation. Painstakingly slowly taking notes on the information that I'm giving them, and I'm not sure they're really even understanding what I mean when I say sterilization procedure. Like, the dots are not connecting, and so they say that they'll open a ticket for it. My doctor refuses to talk to me during this time. I try to reach out since she is in charge of the billing codes, and I get no response. I try to reach out to billing digitally too, and then I get a one-sentence response. We've reviewed the billing codes and determined them to be correct. No explanation from St. Bart's as to why they are correct. Just one sentence saying, trust us, they are. Justifiably, this looks shady to me. I respond to them that my insurance keeps telling me that the codes are not correct, and at this point I'm researching the actual codes myself to try to make heads or tails of them. They just say that they're gonna escalate to a supervisor. A week later, someone else, I don't know if they were the supervisor or what, probably not, gets back to me and says the codes are correct. Again, a one-sentence response. So I'm escalating this with my employer at the time because that's who I was getting my insurance through, and they have people in their HR department who actually help with issues like this. So I'm working with, let's call her Chastity. You can probably see where this is going. So Chastity says that she will help me escalate with my hospital and my insurance. And then she gets back to me like a week later with a copy and pasted chart in an email, basically just giving the exact same information that's on the actual claim, stating the claims processed correctly for the billing codes provided. I'm like, no, Chastity, you don't understand. My insurance is telling me that the billing codes on my claims are incorrect. Can you please help me with this? Credit where credit is due. She goes to St. Bart's and gets back to me in like a week saying the hospital has already reviewed the codes twice and will not do so again. Chastity states that she can submit a provider appeal for me, and so she gives me like a form to fill out and I submit it. And spoiler alert, nothing ever comes of it. So I get back to Cutpurse Medicine, the insurance company, and I let them know what Chastity found out. Just that the hospital is refusing to further review or change the billing codes, or explain the billing codes even, and my doctor refuses to talk to me. At this point, Cutpurse Medicine opens up a fraud investigation against St. Bart's. Okay. At this point, I'm reeling, and as many desperate people are wont to do, I turned to Reddit for answers. And this went about the same way that you would expect. Oh, well, my sweet lilac, it would seem to me that your, shall we say, feminine ego has prevented you from seeing the reality which, fortunately, is so apparent to me, an intellectual. Everyone on r/pp poo-poo thinks that bilateral salpingectomy is covered by the Affordable Care Act as preventative care, and that commercial insurance is required to cover at 100% without deductible, but that is incorrect. Insurances are not required to cover bilateral salpingectomy. I'm reminded of one unfortunate individual there who raged and howled that her orthopedic lateral bypass hysterectomy would not be covered by insurance after foolishly following the other hens to the hospital for the procedure, tickled pink that their elective procedure would be free to them. But alas, it was not free, nor is anything but 'tis the way of things, and my thinking is you would be better off accepting it and perhaps responding to my fucking DM in order to step closer to intellectual nirvana. Also, around this point in the process, I found out that St. Bart's is currently undergoing several lawsuits for charging about 3 times the actual price of medical procedures for said medical procedures, so, yeah. So I am turning into a full-on medical student at this point, trying to see if there is something that I have overlooked. I'm reviewing my certificate of coverage. I'm reviewing federal law. I'm reviewing state law. I am reviewing the rules for medical billing codes. I am reviewing confidential documents from Cutpurse Medicine about how they code things, which Chastity somehow managed to procure for me. And above all, I am saving and documenting every fucking thing that I can get my hands on. Literally every single thing is documented on my computer, like every single email communication. However, if you follow this channel, you know that I read a lot. And I often read very, very dense texts. texts like insurance documents. I am literally a literature student, and I know how to read black and white text when it's in front of my eyes. I am literally currently paid to read and research and analyze books. That is literally my fucking job. Apparently, something like reading black and white text right in front of one's eyes is more than most working in medicine and insurance are capable of doing. I seriously had the thought multiple times throughout this fucking process that I should have been a doctor instead of an academic or a writer, because at least then I would have had money, and I would have probably been at the top of my fucking class too, or at least a medical coder, not a doctor. You didn't finish your phonics book, Cutpurse Medicine. I know you didn't finish your fucking phonics book. I literally considered tracking the hours that I spent on all of this so that if I had to sue somebody, I could charge them an hourly wage for all the precious time of my life that I lost for this whole stupid fucking endeavor. Like, literally, if you are fighting your insurance company, you deserve, like, you should literally get paid $1,000 an hour for that. That is what I think you should get paid. And you should be given free martinis and people rubbing your feet the entire time you are on shift. Oh, what's that? You think $1,000 an hour is overpriced? You know what else is overpriced? $35,000 fucking dollars for a Bisalp. That is fucking overpriced. Look up the market price for insulin, you fucking pigs. Have you ever been charged $300 for a doctor's appointment where you go there and you wait a bunch of fucking time because the doctor is too busy, like, I don't know, chilling, picking his nails, like shooting the breeze with the mailman, and then he shows up in the room and he just gives you kind of like an IDK, bro, that's pretty crazy you're going through that, and then leaves, and then you have no next steps or follow-up? Do you understand what overpriced means? I start drafting a letter to the Department of Risk at St. Bart's and am deterred and roadblocked when I find no contact information online. I wonder why. So I call to ask for contact information, and I am told that they literally do not give that out to people. They literally cannot give me an email or a phone number. I wonder why. You have no fucking idea how many precious hours of my time on this earth I spent on the phone with these people. I was seeing red every single time that I called. I was getting closer and closer to having a full-on conniption, but I tried my best to keep my cool every time and go Patrick Bateman mode. And just without the accent stuff, obviously. Every time I was on the phone with them, I was going Patrick Bateman mode, because the second you get labeled a crazy, hysterical bitch, it is dunzo for you. Unfortunately, I think that just having a female voice makes people think that about you, no matter like how calm and cool and collected you are, so at least that's my experience, so fuck it, we ball. I cannot stress enough how angry and upset I was that this was happening while I was supposed to be recovering from this surgery. I was still bloated, the glue from my incisions hadn't come off yet, and my sutures hadn't even dissolved yet while all of this was happening. And I started to think kind of superstitiously, and I thought, oh god, I'm getting punished somehow for sidestepping the Supreme Court ruling. If I cannot be ruined by being forced to become pregnant, I will be ruined financially. And honestly, I felt really, really violated while all of this was going on, because I thought I had found something to keep myself safe, and instead I found myself getting attacked by it, basically. But I didn't come here to trade one form of losing for another. I came here to fucking win. Thinking of the injustice that other women have probably suffered under this system, and thinking of the ways that other women who were less tenacious than I am would get taken advantage of by this system, that gave me motivation to keep going. So after a few weeks of this hell, I get curious and I start looking at the billing codes again. And I basically determined to myself, if Cutpurse Medicine did a manual review of these claims, it shouldn't really matter what the actual codes are because they are very clearly labeled as sterilization, and my certificate of coverage makes it clear that if you're a childbearing age female, any kind of elective sterilization is covered at 100%, as long as you're doing so voluntarily. Basically, I was like, look, anyone with a brain who can look at the actual meanings of these medical codes and the labels that are on them will be able to determine that this was preventative care, and that it should not be something that I have to pay for. I submit appeals for the claims then, and am denied not once, but twice by Cutpurse Medicine. The tables turn, and suddenly I become very, very suspicious of Cutpurse Medicine. No longer the hospital. Suddenly I am real suspicious of the insurance company. St. Bart's has some money to gain by overcharging or using the wrong medical codes or whatever, but Cutpurse Medicine has even more money to gain by refusing to cover this at 100% without deductible. It may be a lack of expertise on my part, but to my eye, it seems that something being labeled encounter for sterilization should be enough to make it clear to the insurance company that a sterilization was what happened. So I repeat, my sterilization was billed as a sterilization, and my certificate of coverage states that all elective female sterilizations are covered at 100% without deductible. But the claims are being upheld because it wasn't billed as preventative care? Yes, but my doctor's notes and the surgery report and the literal other half of the billing codes state that this was preventative. They state that it is a sterilization which my certificate of coverage states is covered at 100% without deductible under the Affordable Care Act because it is preventative. Patrick, put your hand on the lid. Patrick, follow your own fucking rules. Patrick, obey the fucking law. So I talked to Cutpurse Medicine again, and I suffer through some of the most belittling phone calls yet. At this point, I ask for this to be escalated to a supervisor, not in like a mean way. Again, we're being Patrick Bateman without the axe. But I mean, it is true that I do literally, at this point in the process, want everybody who I talk to about this to die. I'm just like, hey, I've talked to a lot of people about this before, and I like would really like this to be escalated at this point. This leads to me talking to somebody we are going to call Quagmire. Quagmire is absolutely impossible to talk to. He talks to me in like that like fake calming voice that those like trad femme homesteading YouTubers use when they're talking about the monotony of their daily routine, who mask the dark truth of their lives behind this like calming ASMR aesthetic kind of thing. And now I'm just going to start taking the pasta out of the boiling water one noodle at a time. It takes longer this way, but I believe that extra bit of effort makes it taste just a bit more special when you finally sit down. All effort in its due time. Fallopians 9:15. I feel, meanwhile, like I'm talking to a brick wall. I tell Quagmire what happened, and he's basically like, I understand that we're breaking the law, but unless we have a preventative care code, we have no choice but to break the law and just process as something else. I say that to my eye, a sterilization labeled a sterilization in an insurance package where sterilization are considered preventative should be enough to get that sterilization considered as preventative. Patrick, put it on the lid. Just complete helplessness, like, oh, but I can't help but break the law. I'm like, can you confirm my plan is Affordable Care Act compliant? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, can you confirm that my certificate of coverage states that all elective female sterilizations are covered at 100% without deductible as preventative? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, well then, logically, it follows that if you receive a code that indicates sterilization and a doctor's note that indicates sterilization and the documents from the surgery indicate that a sterilization is what happened, logically then, it follows that that procedure should be covered under this rule as preventative at 100% without deductible because it's a sterilization, right? He's like, but it's already processed.
Patrick!
He's like, I mean, damn, you can submit an appeal. I tell him I did and it got denied twice, and that both times I got a form response basically telling me that unless a different code will be submitted, that the claims will continue being processed in the exact same way, with no change whatsoever, regardless of the fact that they are not in compliance with their own promises and policies. I'm like, the code isn't the actual problem. The problem is that this code indicates something that you cover at 100% without deductible that you are now refusing to cover at 100% without deductible. I point out to him that he can find recorded calls on record of me calling them prior to the surgery and confirming that my surgery would be covered at 100% without deductible. And he says they were wrong to tell you that. Spoiler alert, they were not. I tell him that the only reason that I got the surgery is because I was told it would be covered at 100% without deductible because of information that they told me. At least when I worked in a similar industry, the logic when you make a mistake like that and give a customer wrong information is that even though it's not quite in compliance with your actual plan, they went and got something done based on what you told them, so then it is on the company to take care of them and make sure that they don't suffer for our mistake. Like, that is what good business is, and that is how it should be done. And at this point, I'm like, so what would it take for this procedure to be covered without deductible if all this documentation that I have isn't enough and if the medical codes aren't enough? Quagmire responds that the inner machinations of his mind are an enigma. The amount of contented silence that I received from Quagmire was infuriating. He did not listen to me, he did not attempt to accommodate me, or take me or federal or state law seriously at all. Cutpurse medicine does not give a shit about what coverage you buy from them. If you think you're covered for something under them and you go and get that shit done, no you're not. You are not covered under them. You are only covered under them when you don't actually need medical coverage. Because when it comes time for you to actually get an important procedure that you need and you decide to use that coverage, especially if you're a woman and it's birth control related, suddenly, no, you don't have that coverage actually because, no, I don't know, we just don't feel like it today. If you think you have coverage under them, no you don't. They will extract every precious penny that you have broken your back to earn and spent on that insurance from you. They will extract all of it from you because all the money that they currently have literally isn't enough for them. No matter what the law says, no matter what you pay them every month for, you do not have coverage, even if you have documents that say you have coverage. And I also want to say, I have never had this problem with like auto insurance. Like auto insurance is like you call them up and you tell them what happened. Like you don't even need documentation. They're like, sure bro, like I'll just get a little appointment set up for you so you can go and get that shit fixed right there. Oh, a rock hit your windshield? Ah, that's so rough. Let me make you an appointment to fix that. I'll pay for it. Don't you worry, baby girl. I'll take care of everything. Cutpurse medicine will come to your house and shoot you in your sleep, and then make you pay for the entire thing, plus some extra so they can go buy something nice for themselves, plus the price of the Uber that they took to your house to come and shoot you. The plot thickens right now. So Quagmire actually told me something pretty damn interesting about my surgeon. You know, the doctor who'd been refusing to speak to me. According to Quagmire, my doctor went behind my back to tell Cutpurse Medicine that she had warned me that the entire surgery was going to hit my deductible. Now, Victor, remember, was at the consultation appointment with me, and, curiously, neither of us had any recollection of, words like that coming from my surgeon's mouth. She had only said to check with my insurance prior to surgery, which I did. Frankly, this sounded to me like some crazy shit that Quagmire had just made up to get me off his back. Given this, plus the fact that my doctor had ignored my latex allergy during surgery, I had to call Planned Parenthood and tell them what had happened to me with this doctor. I wanted them to know the treatment that I received just so that they had it on record and so they could let other people know before they worked with her, because, I mean, my doctor, at the end of the day, had been silent in all of this, and I know people are busy, but with women's health, women deserve providers who will stand up for them in cases such like this against predatory companies like Cutpurse Medicine, and my doctor did not. In a lot of cases like this, things are resolved and helped only once the doctor speaks up on the patient's behalf, which my doctor was not doing. Meanwhile, Chastity is literally short-circuiting. She's starting to be mean to me over email, because I think she realized that if I got sterilized, it probably means that I am not chaste. So Chastity is now emailing me information on insurance laws in Oregon, even though I don't live in Oregon State. And then she emails me information about Medicaid insurance plans, even though I'm not on Medicaid. And then later, when I point this out to her, she kind of ignores it and just tells me that she refuses to do anything else on the case because there's nothing else to do. And I'm just like, else? What actually have you done except just copy and paste information that I could have just gotten off of my insurance website? Like, what have you actually done for me? So now I'm just completely ignoring Chastity, in more ways than one, because at this point I am healed enough to start having fun with Victor again, and damn did I need it. At this point, I am scarred and deformed from the experience, and at this point, I am just like considering kind of just paying the money to keep my credit score from going down the toilet. I consider that maybe Reddit man was right. Maybe even though I don't have proof that I overlooked something, there is something that I overlooked somewhere, some esoteric thing that I'm not aware of and couldn't be aware of. Maybe that's why all of this is happening to me. Maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I wasn't smart enough. Maybe I couldn't outsmart the Supreme Court. Victor and I discuss it, and he expresses that he's worried about the amount of stress that all of this is causing me. I'd been having physical symptoms from the stress for a while, and to be honest, it was really worrying me about myself a little bit too. However, it gets even worse, because I call the hospital to start a payment plan, and I give my income as my below poverty level graduate stipend, asking if I qualify for the low income payment plan, where some of the payment actually gets waived at that point. St. Bart's is a nonprofit hospital, so they will waive portions or entireties of medical bills if you are of a low enough income for it. However, when I call them, they tell me that they cannot give me that kind of treatment because, I shit you not, because what I had done is preventative care. Yeah, I get on a payment plan for the lowest amount that I qualify for the $4,900 that I was charged after insurance processed everything, and the lowest monthly amount I pay is like $100 per month. It would have taken me my entire PhD to pay off all of that, but I had to start making payments to protect my credit score. As a half-hearted, last-ditch effort, I file a complaint with the State Department of Insurance. I attach what I think are the 5 most important documents to my case because only 5 are allowed, even though I have way more, plus an in-depth explanation that I spent a while writing up. Then I submit it, and I completely forget about it. I also reach out to the National Women's Law Center, and they inform me that they've been seeing a lot of cases like mine lately. They help me with a bunch of stuff, but I ignore all of their resources for the time being because I am so damn tired. So, when Victor and I are in the process of moving in late July, I get an email from the State Department of Insurance saying that my case has been closed. Like my graduate school acceptance email, I presume that it contains bad news, and I don't open it. Then, one day, Victor is paying off his portion of the money. He and I, split the total amount not covered by insurance because, frankly, it takes 2 to tango and just kind of is like a feminist thing, and to make sure that, the whole reproductive burden is not just on me. So we split the money. We were planning on splitting the money based off of income. So Victor is going to pay his portion of the money, and he notices that something has been changed on my bill. He notices that the total dollar amount of the bill has gone significantly down. At least that's what it looks like on first glance, even though I've only paid about $200 towards it so far. I just think, whatever, the hospital adjusted the bill slightly, and I ignore it. But Victor persists, and we look closer at the billing statement. And now the billing statement shows billed $30,000, insurance paid $30,000. I cannot even believe what I am seeing. My first instinct after all those months of hell is to presume that it must be glitching out somehow. There is no way that this can be real. But I think to myself, unless... And that's when I go back and I look at my case with the State Department of Insurance. A woman named Lisa handled my case. She corresponded with someone named Luis at Cutpurse Medicine. I read the letter exchanged between them, and it reads as follows. Dear Miss Lisa, I'm writing in response to the above referenced complaint dated July 12, 2022, received in our office on the same date. Thank you for bringing this issue to our attention. Cutpurse Medicine received the original electronic claim submissions billing for dates of service, blah, blah, blah. We reprocessed the claims for May 27th on July 28th and paid 100% of the eligible expenses. Please see the enclosed claim spreadsheet with claim processing details. We reprocessed the claims in May 27, 2022 in accordance with our Preventative Care Service Coverage Determination Guideline. The Expanded Women's Preventative Health Act includes coverage for contraceptive methods, including sterilizations, tubal ligation, and/or oviduct occlusion as preventative care. In conclusion, we processed the original claims for May 27th incorrectly. We processed the claim incorrectly because it was determined the services billed fall under the preventative care guidelines and should have been considered as such. I provided feedback for the appropriate area as an example of where improvements may be needed in providing more detailed information. It's our goal to thoroughly review complaints and provide you with a complete response. If you have any questions, please call me. Shitting my pants terrified. Luis. You see that? The claims were initially processed incorrectly.
2 shots of vodka.
Lisa put the fear of God into Luis. Let's imagine what it must look like to the state government when a 24-year-old starting a PhD program gets sterilized after documented phone conversations with Cutpurse Medicine, stating that she'll be covered at 100% without deductible. And then Cutpurse Medicine tries to get her to pay her entire deductible for the thing. which the hospital cannot give her assistance for because it is a preventative care procedure. Just imagine what Lisa must have thought and what kind of letter Luis must have gotten. It clears the skin, doesn't it? I had been so traumatized by this experience that I didn't even think when they said 100% that they meant 100%. It was only when I actually looked at the attached claims processing sheet that I started to believe. I am correct. Lo and behold, someone who literally reads as a job can read and comprehend her own certificate of coverage. How interesting. Very interessante, you slimy bastards. Fuck you. Oh, look at that! $0. $0, even though everyone tried to make me feel like an idiot because I'm a femoid with estrogen. Look at that. $0 because it turns out that womb havers can read. Oh, look at that. 0 all the way down. I owe you fucking fuckers $0. In conclusion, die. Never have I wanted to tell an insurance company to kill itself before, but literally, like, that is the point that I was at. I owe $0 for my sterilization, and the hospital owes me and Victor a couple of really fat checks. I also find it super fascinating that the final amount of money charged changed by $5,000 once it was Cutpurse medicine and not me getting charged for it. So that's super fascinating and cool. What is even more insane and very illegal is that I actually did contact my surgeon after all of this was resolved because I wanted to do my fucking due diligence, and I asked her if she ever spoke to Cutpurse medicine like they told me she did, and she told me she hadn't. So Cutpurse medicine literally lied to me about talking to my doctor, about having a secret private conversation with my doctor in order to try to get me to shut up about them breaking the law in a very big way. They basically broke the law a second time so that they could get away with it the first time. They lied about talking to my doctor to me, and because of that, I went to Planned Parenthood and possibly impacted that doctor's reputation. So I gave my surgeon my case number and she is escalating it on her end. Yeah, that to me is possibly the most insane piece of all of this. They lied to me about talking to my doctor in order to try to get me to shut up. Somebody more trusting and less stubborn than me, and someone who has less confidence in their ability to read and understand these kinds of documents, that kind of person would have just rolled over and let their freaking guts be scraped out by the insurance company. Her reputation was potentially damaged because of Quagmire at Cutpurse Medicine, because he couldn't stand that he might have to do the difficult process of reprocessing all of these claims correctly. These places will literally try to gaslight you into thinking that you don't know how to read. Gaslight you into thinking conversations happened which never happened. Anyway, Quagmire, I would be sweating if I were you. LOL at Luis's feedback has been given. I really hope you are shitting your whole pants right now, Quagmire. I have to admit that I do salivate a little bit at the months worth of phone calls that Cutpurse Medicine has from me, where I basically just beg them to follow the law and their own policies. That to me is just incredibly sexy and lovely. Side note, but if you're a man watching this, like, I just want to say that this is what it's like to be a woman all the fucking time. This level of gaslighting and being treated like you're a fucking invalid who doesn't know shit. The law does fucking work. Be a Karen. Be a Stewart, okay? Like, your life and your finances are at stake. Do not hesitate to involve the cold iron fist of the law when one of these corporations tries to take advantage of you, because you work hard for your dollars. These companies should not just be able to make their living by taking yours away from you when you have paid fair and square for the coverage that you have paid for. If you're a woman, definitely make use of the National Women's Law Center if something like this happens to you. And whatever you do, just make sure that you have a shit ton of documentation. Like, keep copies of everything, keep it nice and organized, just keep doing that shit. There will be tears and blood and such unbridled rage that you will occasionally have to just go outside and scream at the sky, but like, eventually you will win if you are persistent. If you are persistent and involve the law and you are correct. Never ever give up when people try to take advantage of you like this. If you know the truth and you know what you're owed, you are not crazy. Do not let them convince you that you are crazy. Now is the part of this where I have to be humble and state my kind of take on responsibility for a part of this, because this didn't have to be as difficult as it was for me. This whole process could potentially have been a lot easier if I had obtained the precise procedure code from my doctor and given that to my insurance, and then gotten some kind of written documentation approving me for that precise procedure code. If that had happened, there would have been one more safeguard in place against this happening, and I probably wouldn't have had to escalate with the law. So if you go and get yourself a Bisalp or a similar sterilization procedure, make sure to get the actual specific procedure code from your doctor at your consultation appointment. And when you call up your insurance to see like how much you're gonna pay, if anything, make sure you give them the exact procedure code so they know exactly how to expect it's going to be billed and they know how to process it. Whenever I look up experiences similar to mine online, like when I was looking this up, it's like, I feel like a lot of it is like women rolling over for the insurance company and just throwing up their hands and saying it's too hard, I can't fight against it anymore. It's really important that you don't follow those women and that you actually do stand up for yourself and be the difficult person, basically. I am really, 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 really happy that I did not let myself get taken advantage of by this company. And it has been an insane boost to my self-esteem to not let myself be taken advantage of in that way, because I know that if I won this and I saved myself in this way, that I can face so much more than I used to think I could face. If you're always constantly just rolling over and saying, oh, it's too hard to stand up for myself and stand up for my rights and my humanity, people are just gonna keep taking and taking and taking and taking advantage of you. You have to be strong and do the tiring and exhausting and maddening thing and stand up for yourself. Otherwise, the bullies are just gonna keep hitting. Yeah, and I don't know, the rhetoric about this whole procedure is really weird online because everyone talks about how impossible it was to do what I did and get snipped when you're 24 and childless, but I just never had any problems. I mean, even when I was, you know, at my little, like, suburban gynecologist, I didn't have, like, any real, like, serious roadblocks, like, in the way of me getting this done. So I would caution you all against just taking for granted that this is, like, an impossible procedure to get if you are, you know, young and childless. Like, you should do what you want, even if it's more difficult. Yeah, I don't know. Believe in yourself. You sometimes have to fight for what you want, but you can get exactly what you want. Yeah, I don't know. That's it. That is the caper. Victor and I got our fat checks in the mail from St. Bart's for all the money we had paid them so far. I am sterilized. I feel great. I successfully ensured that I would never become a domestic supply of infants, and I did it for free. Everyone at the very least deserves to get the sparse, shitty coverage that they pay for every month from their insurance company. You pay, you should get the service that you pay for. Cutpurse medicine, if you don't like that system, I would suggest becoming like a bank robber or something. That might kind of be more up your aisle. And now, all that remains are a few choice words for Cutpurse medicine.
Your mother is a ing. Lorem ipsum. Admitum venium. Tragula. Hippopotamus. Republican. Ing Daniel Radcliffe. With a bucket of and a castle far away where no one can hear you. Soup. With a bucket of Mickey Mouse. And a stick of dynamite. Magical. Alakazam.
If you've had a bad insurance experience, I want to hear about it in the comments. Let's commiserate and rage together. And if you've got questions about me getting snipped, then feel free to ask those as well. If you are sterilized, if you've had a Bisalp, I would love to hear about your experience as well. Yeah, that's it. I guess if you're Cutpurse medicine, you can send me death threats, or if you are Reddit man, you can try to leave me a love note or something. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.